Alice's favorite vase.
She always says don't play ball in the house.
Pork chops and applesauce. That's swell.
Marcia. Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
Welcome to Here's the Story, a Brady Bunch podcast. Hey, I'm not going to tear this thing apart. It's my favorite show. Episode 19, The Big Sprain. Written by Tam Spiva, the first of 9 episodes she would write for the series. Other than a few episodes of Gentle Ben from 1968, she never wrote another thing from her final Brady Bunch episode in 1973 until her death in 2017. And maybe she got married and raised a family. Oh wait, Tam is a man. I thought Tam was short for Tammy, but it's actually short for Hubert Tamblyn Spiva Jr., and though he doesn't have the credit on IMDb, he apparently also wrote episodes in 1970 for the police drama Dan August, starring Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds had a TV series called Dan August? Who knew? Well, it only lasted 6 months, but in that time, they crammed in 26 episodes that guest-starred Harrison Ford, Billy D. Williams, Ricardo Montalban, Dabney Coleman, Larry Hagman, John Ritter, Mickey Rooney, Gary Busey, Jan Michael Vincent, and a whole bunch more. I have to find this show! Okay, back at the Brady house. Carol went to visit her Aunt Mary, and Mike is worried that handling the household on her own might be too much for Alice. Then we get the most dramatic camera angle ever used in the series, as we see her walk out of the kitchen and slip on a game of Chinese checkers from a worm's eye view, as if one of those gigantic television cameras they used in the 60s had been replaced with a GoPro rolling backwards on a skateboard. Well, Alice has sprained her ankle, so Mike calls an emergency family meeting to divvy up the workload amongst the kids. That's where we learn that Greg has after-school sports, Marcia has music lessons, and Jan has dance class. I'm beginning to think that Mike is the wealthiest architect that ever lived. Alice is in her room being upset about having to cancel her upcoming weekend plans with Sam the Butcher at the annual Meat Cutters Ball. And we get to see her closet for the first time. Look at that, 19 episodes in, and yet another addition to the Brady home. Well, in this same week, the Brady house interior would also be featured for the first of several times on the TV series Mannix in the episode Who is Sylvia? Mike Brady actor Robert Reed was simultaneously appearing as Lieutenant Adam Tobias on Mannix. And the book Alice is reading in these scenes is All My Loves by Penny Dunbar, which is a fake book featured as the centerpiece to the Love American-style episode Love in the Band Book, airing the same February 6, 1970 night on the same channel during the same ABC primetime lineup. And it stars Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds again. Have I mentioned before that he was my acting teacher? So the morning begins with the boys skipping breakfast as the girls destroy the kitchen while screaming at each other. Mike tries to have some of the breakfast, but he can't either, so he just heads off to work. After work, he has to stop by Sam's butcher shop to pick up lamb chops for dinner because the girls have now just burnt the roast. And while he's there, he has to tell him that Alice sprained her ankle. Okay, for one, Alice and Sam clearly don't keep in contact with each other as much as a normal couple. And two, Mike has to get so much food for each meal with this giant family. It really drives home the point that Mike really must be the wealthiest architect that ever lived. Back at home, Carol calls, and we get a few seconds of footage of her for this episode, while the girls ruin dinner again, and Peter gets caught in the vacuum cleaner. Florence Henderson's role in this episode and the next one, which was actually filmed right before this one, are greatly reduced because she was off filming the movie Song of Norway at the time. If they hadn't included this little scene, Alice would be the only adult to appear in every episode of the series' 5-year run. Of the kids, only Greg appears in every episode. Well, when the girls were destroying breakfast, Jan said to Marcia, "I'm not going to do all these dishes. I won't live that long." Then when they're destroying dinner, in the background of Mike trying to listen to Carol on the phone, you can faintly hear Jan repeating, "I'm not going to do all these dishes. I won't live that long," over and over again in a loop. Sam stops by to bring Alice some flowers. How nice. Then he waves like a nervous 5-year-old while saying he has to immediately leave to go bowling. When Alice reminds him that she won't be able to go to the meat cutter's ball, he snaps his fingers and says he'll just take someone else. Okay, Sam's a jerk. Mike walks in to see Alice water the flowers Sam brought her with her tears. And that's when the boom mic casts a huge shadow, completely obscuring Mike's entire head and part of the wall. Oops! Out in the driveway, Marcia tries talking to Greg, who completely ignores her until she compliments him. What's with the guys in this episode? Marcia convinces him to help round up the kids and start working as a team to clean the house. And we get a montage of scenes of them doing the chores set to the grooviest instrumental music outside of an Austin Powers street dance performance. Mike stops back at the butcher shop to buy a wheelbarrow full of steaks, and back home he gets the kids together to tell them how proud he is of them for working together as a team. Then he heads off to the den to do some late-night work, and the kids try to cheer up Alice. It's funny to see how Mike acts at the butcher shop because he's all slouchy and giddy like a 10-year-old. I like the acting choice Robert Reed made for how his character would act when interacting with Sam. Like he's having fun getting to joke around with an older boy in the schoolyard. After the kids' attempts to get Alice's mind off the meat cutter's ball, she thanks them and sends them off to bed. And that's when Sam shows up at the door. He couldn't go to the ball without her. Even though he's head of the entertainment committee, he skipped the whole thing just to come over and be with Alice. Okay, I take back everything I said about him. Mike peeks out from the den, and the kids do the same from the top of the stairs at how happy Alice and Sam are as they walk out to the patio to look at the stars. Now that's a happy ending. Until next time.